So there are other gods that are put in power over the nations? Where else do we see evidence of this? Let's think about it. Hey, my name's Justin Harrell. I challenge you to challenge yourself to think about less taught biblical topics. Have you ever wondered why different parts of the world worship different gods? You're taught many times that man just invented their religious beliefs. But does this really explain it? Or is there a much more coherent explanation? The better explanation is that these beliefs are based on real events, real people, real divine beings. The Most High God has a rebellion on his hands, and it involves the divine realm and man's realm. Both have been defying God's authority. They did it at Eden, they did it during Noah's day, and they did it at Babel.
You know, you pronounce Babel 3 different ways now.
Yeah, it's just to annoy you. The Most High God disinherited the nations at Babel. He gave them over to the very ones they wanted to worship. That's a form of God's judgment when he gives you what you want. Romans 1 shows us that ungodliness stirs up God's wrath, and he gives us over to the things we're chasing. Verse 24 says God gave them up in the lusts of their hearts. Verse 26 says God gave them up to dishonorable passions. Verse 28 says God gave them up to a debased mind to do what ought not to be done. God is going to trick the rebellious divine beings into fulfilling his plan. Step 1 is to give everybody what they want. The divine beings want power and authority. They want to be like the Most High God. Isaiah 14:14 says, I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will make myself like the Most High. Man wants connection to the divine realm, to know secrets that are not revealed to man. The original lie was, you can be like the gods. God gives the nations over to these lesser Elohim, and it appears that he gives in to everyone's demands. Deuteronomy 32:8. When the Most High gave to the nations their inheritance, when he divided mankind, he fixed the borders of the peoples according to the number of the sons of God. And then we also see in Daniel chapter 4, 3 times it says, the Most High rules the kingdom of men and gives to whom he will. That's verses 17, 25, and 32. So God divvies up the nations and puts these other Elohim in charge. God will use pride to blind these rebels into enabling their own downfall. But Yahweh is the Most High God, and they won't forget it. We get glimpses of the warfare that's going on in the unseen realm throughout the Old Testament. The king of Syria was making war against Israel. He surrounded the city of Dothan. Elisha was outnumbered. Or was he? 2 Kings 6:15-17. And when the servant of the man of God arose early and went out, there was an army surrounding the city with horses and chariots. And his servant said to him, Alas, my master, what shall we do? So he answered, Do not fear, for those who are with us are more than those who are with them. And Elisha prayed and said, Lord, I pray, open his eyes that he may see. Then the Lord opened the eyes of the young man, and he saw. And behold, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha. Another time is in Daniel chapter 10, verses 2 and 3. In those days, I, Daniel, was mourning 3 full weeks. I ate no pleasant food, no meat or wine came into my mouth, nor did I anoint myself at all, till 3 whole weeks were fulfilled. So Daniel is fasting and praying for 3 weeks. Then he has a visitation, a vision. Then if we move down to verse 10, suddenly a hand touched me, which made me tremble on my knees and on the palms of my hands. And he said to me, O Daniel, man greatly beloved, understand the words that I speak to you, and stand upright, for I have now been sent to you. While he was speaking this word to me, I stood trembling. Then he said to me, Do not fear, Daniel, for from the first day that you set your heart to understand and to humble yourself before your God, your words were heard, and I have come because of your words. But the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me 21 days, and behold, Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me, for I had been left alone there with the kings of Persia. And then if we skip down to verse 20, then he said, Do you know why I have come to you? And now I must return to fight with the prince of Persia. And when I have gone forth, indeed the prince of Greece will come. But I will tell you what is noted in the scripture of truth. No one upholds me against these except Michael your prince. Whoa, this is enlightening. So day one, when Daniel prays, this messenger is sent forth. But it takes 21 days to get past the prince of Persia? Who is that? Obviously, based on context, it's another divine being. Based on the Deuteronomy 32 worldview, this would be one of the powers put over the nation of Persia. He is withstanding the messenger. But backup arrives in the form of Michael, one of the chief princes. Then we are told that another prince is coming, the prince of Greece. There is cosmic warfare going on here. When nations rise up against other nations, it's not just the people you see. There are powers behind the scenes. And another lesson we can learn here is, sometimes our prayers take a while to be answered. That's a reminder to persevere in prayer when it looks like the answer's not coming. 21 days! Psalm 97:9 says, "For you, O Lord, are most high over all the earth. You are exalted far above all gods." These territorial powers have their heyday, but once Jesus shows up, the kingdoms of this world are put on notice. Your time is soon up. But do you think they're going to give up their power easily? Fat chance. Ephesians 6:12, "For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this age, against spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places." There's conflict where the Most High God redeems. The dark side is fighting because when they lose, it's their doom. They fear the Most High. Psalm 47:2, "For the Lord, the Most High, is to be feared, a great king over all the earth." This is why when Jesus or the apostles moved into Gentile territory, there was pushback, and why they referred to God as the Most High. For example, Luke 8:26-28, "Then they sailed to the country of the Gerasenes, which is opposite Galilee. When Jesus had stepped out on land, there met him a man from the city who had demons. For a long time he had worn no clothes, and he had not lived in a house but among the tombs. When he saw Jesus, he cried out and fell down before him and said with a loud voice, 'What have you to do with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I beg you, do not torment me.'" The demons recognize that the Most High God has authority over their land. And then let's look at Acts 16, verse 12. "And from there to Philippi, which is a leading city of the district of Macedonia and a Roman colony. We remained in this city some days." So this is Gentile land. Verse 16. "As we were going to the place of prayer, we were met by a slave girl who had a spirit of divination and brought her owners much gain by fortune telling. She followed Paul and us, crying out, 'These men are servants of the Most High God, who proclaim to you the way of salvation.'" These spirits are operating in their territories, but they recognize that the Most High God is supreme. He has all authority. Now, when we go back and reread Psalm 82, in light of all the context of the things we've been studying, it might take on a whole new meaning for you. God gave the nations over to the other lesser Elohim, but they did a terrible job, and God will judge them for this. Psalm 82. "God stands in the congregation of the mighty. He judges among the gods. How long will you judge unjustly and show partiality to the wicked? Selah. Defend the poor and the fatherless. Do justice to the afflicted and needy. Deliver the poor and needy. Free them from the hand of the wicked. They do not know, nor do they understand. They walk about in darkness. All the foundations of the earth are unstable. I said, you are gods, and all of you are children of the Most High. But you shall die like men, and fall like one of the princes. Arise, O God, judge the earth, for you shall inherit all nations." God is done with the rule of the other gods. He will reclaim the nations for himself. This will ultimately happen through the person of Jesus Christ when he returns to earth. He will rule the nations. But to start this journey, he called out one man, a rather unlikely candidate, a man named Abram. The Most High God begins to reclaim a man, a nation, and a planet. It's something we should think about.